Do you smell what you're told to smell? How much do note lists and marketing prejudice your first experience of a perfume?
Shut up and sit down.
Hi, and welcome back. So last Christmas, a month or two ago, I was at a friend's place and we were having a get-together. We'd had a meal, a barbecue. We were having a few drinks, a bit of a laugh, and someone asked the question, do you have a game we could play? Now, the host didn't have a game, so I put my mind on the matter and came up with an idea. I knew in my car at the time I was carrying a little sample set of Zoologist perfumes, and I thought we could use this and turn it into a game. So I invented this game that I called What's That Smell? And what I did was I got 5 scent strips, because there were 5 perfumes in the box, and I sprayed a little on each strip and I handed out the strips, so a set of strips, 5 to each person. There were 10 people playing the game. And I said to them, now your job is to get a pen and write on the back of the strip what animal this smells like. I explained to them that it was from the House of Zoologist and each scent was designed to evoke the smell of an animal or the animal's habitat. And I said, your job is to identify the animal and write it on the back of the strip. Now that was, let's call this round 1 of the game. I didn't give them any other clues. Well, actually I did, because to be fair, one of the animals was actually T-Rex. So I said to them that the animal may or may not be extinct. So that was a bit of an extra clue. Anyhow, when the strips came back, there was only one person who identified one of the animals correctly. And indeed it was T-Rex that they identified. And this really shocked me because one of the perfumes was bee. And if you've ever smelt bee, it's unmistakably a bee's nest. It's full of honey and beeswax, and yet nobody identified it, which was curious. So then we went to round 2, and with round 2, I gave them one extra clue. What I said to them was, I'll give you the list of the animal names, and then you've got to do the same thing, this time right on the back in a different place, the animal that it matches to. And the animals that I gave them were bee, moth, squid, rhinoceros, and T-Rex. So when they came back on the second round, things improved quite a bit. The average score went from almost 0 to 3 out of 5, and there were 3 people who guessed exactly all 5 animals. Now, I don't know about you, but I thought this was quite curious, really. It was a bizarre human experiment, I suppose. But I just thought it was rather interesting that just by knowing the names of the animals, people were able to match the scent. So was that because they tuned in their noses a little better? Or was it because when you have something that you're trying to fit a fragrance to, a name, a descriptor, you will somehow find a way to make it fit? And if that's the case, then this is my concern, I guess, with note lists and marketing. Because if you read the note list before you smell the fragrance, you're already kind of prepping your brain to look for those smells. You're kind of, if you like, leading the witness and creating a confirmation bias where your mind is going to look to confirm what it's been told. And that may be okay if all those notes are present in the fragrance and you identify them. Well, good for you. But the thing is that a fragrance is seldom just the sum of its constituent parts. There's a certain amount of alchemy that goes on with perfume. And when all those parts come together, the interplay can produce smells and nuances that are not just in the note list. I'm not a big fan at all of reading note lists, or, it's hard to encounter a perfume without knowing its name. But ideally, I would like to just be experiencing a perfume, not knowing anything about it, and just all I've got to go by is what I smell. And I would recommend to you that that's the best way to approach any perfume. Now, I'm not the perfume police. It's your money. You do with it what you want. But my recommendation would be, rather than read the note list, just smell the perfume, spend a bit of time with it, just process it in your mind, and what ask yourself, what does this smell like to me? And what do I feel when I smell this? What am I reminded of? And, just take it all on board, make a mental note of the things that you smell, or even write them down, and then go to the note list and compare it and see what comes out of that. For me, most often, my experience, I probably will match up with maybe 3 out of 9 notes that are listed. And then there'll be 3 that I sort of might say, yeah, that could be there, but it's very subtle. And then there'll be 3 that I completely don't experience. But on the other hand, there'll be 3 others that I smell that aren't even listed. And often that's because there's no word in the vocabulary of perfumery that says, rubber tire or sweaty saddle or whatever, right? Or mum's apple crumble. Those words don't exist in the glossary of terms for perfume. And yet that's what is stored away in my olfactory memory. And so I like to, relate to those things that I know and that I've smelt in the past. And I find that I really enjoy the experience, and I also the perfume becomes more memorable to me when it finds a place in my olfactory memory. So these are just my thoughts. I'm interested to know, what do you think? Till next time, take care, stay safe, and enjoy your fragrance, whatever it is.